Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we have RP Luffy going up against Enel. So Enel is one of the stronger decks at the moment. I would put him in top 3 easily in OP07. So let's just see how RP Luffy can handle 2 matches against him back to back. So Lamb swings in 8 to leader. Looks like that connects for the RP Luffy, already down to 2 health, and then answering back with a 6k to lead, and that connects as well. So putting the Bond Clay down just in case the Enel puts down a body, the Bond Clay will be able to copy the attack stat to apply pressure. So he actually takes this swing as well. RP Luffy already getting down to 1 health, but I think because he knows that Enel wants to take it slow, he doesn't feel too endangered at the moment. And I do see a 4-drop Trafalgar Law on the RP Luffy side. So that might be coming down, considering the Enel player likes to hoard a lot of cards. So ripping 2 will be very valuable in this matchup. So it looks like he just plays down another Bond Clay, being able to ramp with the Bond Clay and leader ability, and playing out the kid for 5 mana here. So really good turn for the RP Luffy, saving that Trafalgar Law to be able to rip 2 cards out of the Enel's hand. So swinging in 7 into the RP Luffy here. Should be an easy counter, but instead he wants to give the blocker up. I think he doesn't want to, or probably doesn't have 2Ks in hand, and wants to save that Trafalgar Law for the important rip that he will end up doing. And looks like he does play it out this turn, being able to Dawn down and Dawn back up. Rips a Katakuri and a Flampe, so the rips aren't too bad. Obviously, as the RP Luffy player, you would like to see an Ace or Yamato in there, but if you miss, it is what it is. You're happy with the Katakuri rip. So swinging in 7 at lead does connect with the Enel, or into the Enel, and the 2 Bond Clays means that if the Enel player wants to develop any body, the Bond Clay poses such a big threat that it's really hard to want to put anything on the board. So really tough turn for Enel here. The move might be to just heal and hope for the best. I do see he has another Katakuri in hand, so he could technically put the Shirahoshi back in life and try to filter cards that way, and it looks like that's what he does. So Shirahoshi hitting life, being able to draw 3, filter 2 is such a powerful effect, considering Enel does run a lot of bricks, and also on top of that helps you dig for your top end. So for the RP Luffy's turn, looks like he's just going to copy the Katakuri, swinging in for 8, and then allowing the Shirahoshi to filter 2 cards for the Enel player here. I think this turn would be a really good turn to just swing in super heavy, and I think that's what he ends up doing here. So at 2 life, it does look like the Enel has a bunch of counter to work with, so he shouldn't be afraid of getting pushed to 0 here. but he does counter out just in case the RP Luffy has stuff to work with. But the 10 drop ace coming down, popping the Katakuri, must feel devastating for the Enel here. So with only one life up, definitely Kingdom Come is coming down to pop that Shanks. And luckily for him, that means that he's able to develop a blocker. So here with Bon Clay not being able to copy anything, it seems like the Enel is safe this turn here. And Captain Kid coming down means that the RP Luffy is now pumped up to 7. I wonder if he's going to decide to push in. I think the play definitely would be to chip away at the Enel's hand. With only 4 cards left in his hand, you should be able to at least put the Enel to 0 and start pushing really heavy the following turn. So just deciding what he wants to do here. He actually passes. That is a huge turn for the Enel player actually. The RP Luffy deciding to pass with that much pressure on board means that the Enel can now regain some tempo back on the board here. And with only 4 cards again in his hand, he definitely didn't have enough counter, and if he did, the RP Luffy could have at least stripped the rest of his cards out of his hand there. So Enel answering back with the Katakuri, and then going right back to the RP Luffy, dropping the dragon down, pumping the Luffy back to 7. And with the 2 Dawn attached, it looks like he can swing 9-9. But I think this turn might be too little too late, because with the blocker available, it's really tough to get in there with only a few more swings. So he does swing in 9 at leader here with the RP Luffy, and then getting 3 cards out of the Enel's hand must feel really good. And then he actually is able to bring the Enel down to 0, but off of the life, it looks like the Enel actually got the ace, and this is where things start looking kind of bad for the RP Luffy player. Not being able to pressure too early, or the last 2 turns, means that the Enel gets the trigger and is able to regain a lot of resources in his hand. So another dragon coming down. Huge misplay here as well. Looks like the RP Luffy player swinging in for 8. He had 2 Dawn available, with only 2 cards left in the Enel's hand. It would not have been a bad choice to swing in super heavy. He probably left the 2 Dawn up for the Rad Beam, just to play it a little safer. But let's just see if Lamb can capitalize here So Ace actually swinging into the dragon, not being countered out, is absolutely crazy for the RP Luffy player. I think, yeah, that last turn was just an absolute fumble on the RP Luffy side. Leaving the 2 Dawn up, baiting the Rad Beam. Definitely would have been better to just simply swing in super heavy. But hindsight, it is tough to see that in matches. So he tries to recover, getting a queen into a kid. But with this many large swings, it is tough for the RP Luffy player to survive. So another ace swing coming out, forcing out the 2 blockers from RP Luffy, and then another ace from the top of the deck comes out. And at this point, Enel just looks like he has the match in the bag. Especially in the mid stages of the game, you gotta really try to pressure in Enel, because once he gets to top end and is able to filter through his hand, it's really tough to fight against the constant healing and also his leader ability. So the Gear 5 Luffy coming down on the RP Luffy side with the Nami Searcher. Not sure if this is going to be enough, just because Gear 5 Luffy is more of a card you play down to secure a match, but yeah, at this point, I think the best he can do is to just put the Enel at 0. And Lamb has more than enough resources to end the match here. So 10 swing coming from Ace, another 10 coming out. Can't imagine he's able to counter out. So Enel ended up taking game 1 here. So let's see if RP Luffy can survive game 2 as well. I do think he had the game 1 in the bag, but just didn't see the line to go for lethal when he had the chance. One tip I've learned when facing Enel is when he has a grip in the mid game, more likely than not, half of those cards are his top end, meaning they are bricks, and worst case scenario, you can at least just rip all the cards out of his hand if they are all counters. So in this match, looks like RP Luffy swinging in for 6, connecting, just to play around the triggers, I'm sure, and then putting down the Bond Clay, ramping up by 1 here. So Enel swinging in 8 to 6. Actually eating a Rad Beam early on. I think he just doesn't want to get too low. That being said, Luffy does get off another Law. Really good for him. Hopefully he can get some top end out of the Enel's hand. Lamb tried to shuffle it really good to hide his top end cards here. And he does hit an ace and a 0 cost event. So really good hit for the RP Luffy. Being able to rip out an ace is pretty devastating for Enel, but He does have 11 other top end cards to work with, so battle's not over yet. Enel starting off his turn. 1 life already. I think when you get to this stage in the game, you need to really pressure the Enel as much as you can. And Enel, recognizing that the Bond Clay is a threat, he decides to Rygo the Bond Clay and removing it from the field here. So RP Luffy going into, I believe, his 8 Dawn turn should be able to pressure pretty hard into the Enel player here. If he had a Monkey D Dragon, I could see him pumping up. And then playing that out just for some board tempo here. One cool thing to note that gives RP Luffy a chance against Enel though is that Enel actually his Gadatsus are actually dead cards relatively to RP Luffy, just because starting off at 3 life means that Enel can't starve the RP Luffy super efficiently. But surprisingly, looks like the RP Luffy is deciding not to swing in. I do understand where he's coming from there, but maybe he just didn't have any rush characters to work with this game. So with the Yamato coming down, Luffy really needs to see some of those Shanks to try to deal with the Yamato's board presence. But with the Bond Clay, being able to copy the Yamato's 9k swing is really big here. Looks like the Shanks eats another Kingdom Come, so little unlucky for the RP Law player, or RP Luffy, sorry about that. But Enel swinging in 5 into the Bond Clay, attaching 4 Dawn on the Flampe to try to swing into the Bond Clay once again. He actually lets it go versus giving up the Law here. I do think that's a slight misplay, just because Bond Clay is such a threat on the board, especially when Enel is putting down large bodies every single turn during the later stages of the game. You definitely want Bond Clay to be able to get free heavy swings in. But looks like here another queen coming down for RP Luffy. Being able to draw to pitch 1 is so powerful. And then here I believe he has 6 Dawn to work with after the hero ability brings the Dawn back. Looks like he's just going for a bunch of blockers here. Not sure if Enel feels too pressured, but definitely just healing and passing to protect the body. You must feel really safe. The Enel does have a lot of cards to work with, so I wonder how the RP Luffy is going to deal with this here. So he's already cracking in with his bodies. And the Enel did hold on to a bench trigger there. And then Gear 5 Luffy coming out for the RP Luffy player. I'm just not sure if RP Luffy really wants Gear 5 in this matchup. I think because the Enel showed that he had the 2 Kingdom Comes already, RP Luffy probably felt safe dropping the Gear 5 down without it getting popped. So in his following turn, I do think the right play is to try to bring the Enel to 0 health, forcing him to have the heal, but at the same time make sure that he has the counter to protect his Luffy if he chooses to do that. So swinging in 8 at lead here. And then swing in 12 with the Luffy. I think he forgot that the Shirahoshi was a blocker, so Shirahoshi eating a free swing here. But honestly, at 1 life, it might be worth it to just crack in the Gear 5 Luffy here, but he decides against it. Luffy already ramping back up to 9 Dawn. I wonder if the RP Luffy can survive. I do see a Shanks in his hand, and that Shanks will definitely help him survive against the giant bodies that Enel is just putting down. And so here, Gear 5 does land in a 12 swing, meaning that the Trafalgar Law is now live. He whiffs 2 rips, which obviously does not feel good. But here, looks like Enel swinging in for 6. And then another Yamato coming down. So at this point, I think the RP Luffy is looking a little cooked just because he didn't see many large bodies to play. Only having a Gear 5 Luffy obviously is not enough to compete with the top end of yellow. And I think here, yeah, looks like the only body he has to work with is the Gear 5 Luffy and a Rush Luffy in his hand as well. So just deciding what to do here. He swings in 6 into lead, gets countered out with a 2K. And then playing down the Captain Kid. Definitely weird sequence this game. I'm not sure if he was just tired, but pumping up his lead to 7 after swinging, definitely just big misplays. Yeah, allowing the Enel to hold on to his resources definitely does not feel good. So here, Yamato swinging in 9 into 7. This gets countered out with a 0 cost event. And then the Rad Beam getting forced out using the Ace here. So Seeing the Shirahoshi come down is kind of good news for the RP Luffy player, but I'm just not sure if he's able to capitalize on this board state. I think his only out at the moment is to just rush in and deal as much damage as possible. So swinging in 7 with the Captain Kid, ramping the leader up to 7. Yeah, I'm not sure if the Rush Luffy is worth the amount of mana it takes to bring him out, but he does get a Frankie out of life here, which is another counter for him to work with. And then swinging in 9 with the Rush Luffy here. So now the only swings left in his turn is a 7, 8, and 12. Yeah, at this point it's just pretty much over. Yeah, Enel being able to heal back the swings. I think the swings definitely were just not allocated correctly, but Enel takes that match there. Unfortunate for the RP Luffy player. I think RP Luffy definitely has the tools in order to beat Enel, but obviously very difficult to pilot that matchup. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.